Yes, you guys, welcome back. Of course, with how surreal this past 48 hours has been, naturally with the story at the Super League, it is dominating headlines. We have some big updates today, and this will be a story that continues to dominate headlines for the foreseeable future. So I'm not going to look to waste any more time. We've got a ton to discuss and reflect upon and think about, but to get straight with the first update, well, finally, someone from our boards has met the players to address their fears and concerns, their rightful fears and their concerns. This was reported by Nizar Gonzalez from Goal.com, and Bruce Buck met with the players today. Now, of course, the players are fearful. Naturally, they found out about this news alongside us, the fans, us, the public. Kind of crazy that, the players are probably the most important part of the club. It's why we watch the game in the first place, weren't notified or addressed about this beforehand, but kind of tells you everything you need to know about how this club has always kind of just seen our players as assets and commodities. I can really go into detail about this. Maybe at a future point I will, but of course today, with news coming out that players that participate in the Super League, they could be met with some sanctions. We've seen the British government threaten to remove work permits for players that participate in this. We've seen how UEFA, their president, their chairman in Alexander Seferin, has come out to state that players that participate in this tournament could have their national team places jeopardized. They could be banned from participating for them. And of course, if you're a player, this is not what you signed up for. Now, on top of this, I'd imagine that these guys already have clauses and bonuses inserted in their contracts surrounding, UCL qualification, UCL targets and bonuses, etc, etc. So from a legal standpoint, I'm curious to know how that's going to work and how that's going to evolve on. But to be honest, I feel like the players will be the ones to suffer. The players will suffer because they'll be pawns. Now, it's an unfortunate set of events. Let's not pretend that UEFA, that they're saints in any of this. They're money men themselves. They're money men. UEFA versus the greedy 12, as we're seeing with the Super League. They're both sides of the same coin. So right now it's about power, it's about balance, it's about earnings. And it's going to be interesting to see how both look to fight back against each other. It's sad, it really is. But of course, it's been coming for a very long time. For a very long time. As I've always said, when you allow any rich person from any financial sector, like business sector, law, whatever, to, just buy their way into football, to take ownership of clubs that have history, tradition, fans, millions of fans that have supported clubs with history and tradition for generations and generations, they don't care about that. They didn't get into the sport because of the history and the love. They came in because they could see potential with earnings. That's the reality. And the thing is in business is that you don't like unpredictability. Unpredictability can affect you. It can bring down your profits. And sport is one of the most unpredictable things around. That's why there's things like betting, for example. Some people win, most people lose out against stuff like that. And of course, if the very elite, the elite that feel like they're one of the main reasons why the sport is popular to begin with in the first place, if they can get more control behind how they can operate, behind how they can make money, behind how they can safeguard their positions, their financial positions, to be set for, decades and decades, which to me is absolute bullshit. Because even look at us, let's keep things real. Roman came through 2003, 2004 to take us over. Without him, we wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't have none of that investment. And it's kind of like, what gives us the right to feel like, just because of 20 years or 15 years of, like Daddy Roman giving us some financial clout and muscle, that we deserve to safeguard our spot and position for years and years, just affecting the very membrane and fabric of this game. I don't know. It's complete arrogance, and it is going to be time for them to come out and make a decision. Now today there was some promising news, and that news is basically around the fight back, the backlash against this. Now I saw some positivity from Jordan Henderson. Reports came out saying that he wants to speak to all the captains for the Premier League clubs to really just discuss this entire matter and I guess rally support against it. Of course, we found out as well too from Pep Guardiola. He came out and very eloquently made his position known, and that position is he is against this. Now, as I said before, personally I was disappointed that Tuchel didn't come out to air his piece and opinion. I guess he's being consistent because he said before this entire event has happened recently that he is just a club man that will just work for the club, agree with what they want, and focus only on the football. Is that good enough? I don't know, but as I said, in 2016 in conferences, he's kind of open to the idea already. So, I mean, he's entitled to. We all have our opinions, I guess. But for me, it was nice that Pep came out and used his voice and spoke out against this. As Pep was saying, number one, you're talking about how you see yourselves as like the super elite clubs. I mean, how are Ajax not in this? They've won this Champions League 4 times. Clubs like Arsenal, Tottenham, they haven't done that. You know what I mean? And of course, Pep was saying, essentially, competition in this game, in this sport, is love. And if you try to disrupt that competition, if you try to find ways to get success undeservedly year after year, then it doesn't become a competition, it doesn't become a sport. And I think that is the one thing that we have to just defend. We've seen how the American sports models are. I mean, I don't agree with them. I don't really enjoy them as much, to be honest. But we can look to them as an example of how things can go downhill if we don't fight back against this, if we don't stand up against this and make our voices and opinions known. Because, of course, the ones who really benefit from that are the owners of these franchise clubs. I mean, I remember back the minimum Backlash at the time when they were taking NFL games and NHL, whatever they're called, playing them in Wembley. I was thinking in my head, wow, I mean, that is just a kick in the teeth to any American sports fan in football. And if this Super League takes place, we can expect them to push more egregious ideas. That's just going to go against us fans, ultimately with us missing out. So, the backlash is real, it's strong, and I guess one of the most important pieces of news that has come out is that one club that has agreed to this Super League deal is having some reservations about going through. Now, this is where things are interesting because conflicting reports are also stating that at the same time, clubs have already signed pre-agreements, meaning that if we were to back out from them, there are going to be big financial. You're going to lose out on a lot of money. You're going to lose out on a lot of money, and I guess on top of the fact that you'd probably involve lawyers in this as well, this could be quite peak. But to be honest, I'm really, really, really hoping, you guys, that we are one of the clubs making a stand, because I feel like we have to see this. Because right now, after all of this, I don't know if I'll be ever able to trust our boards. I mean, I can't. If they can plot like this behind the scenes and, only maybe potentially make a positive change just due to media pressure, the backlash, then I can't trust them. I really can't, because, if there's a safer way to push through things like this, they're fully about it. They're fully down for it. And they kind of already told us exactly where they fall and where they stand when it comes to the future of this game. So I don't accept the excuse that they were kind of forced into it alongside Man City. Clubs like Bayern, Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain and many others have stood out and said no, they're not here for this. So I can't accept that excuse for my club at all. And it's kind of made me feel that, okay, now is definitely a time for fans to really get behind each other and support each other more. Of course, at 5:30 p.m, there is going to be a big protest outside Stamford Bridge. Anyone local in the area who wants to go out there to support, I suggest that you do so. And at the same time, I suggest that we support local efforts like our supporters clubs. I think they need a lot more membership. I'm talking about in the thousands and thousands, because then at least this way, when things like this do happen in the future, which will happen, this is just the gateway into this. There'll be it's going to escalate more and more over the years, then now is the time for fans to get together and have that voice. So in the description, I'm going to link the Chelsea Supporters Club group. So make sure you guys, if you're really feeling passionate about this, sign up to it. I mean, it's really not expensive at all, like £5 for the entire year. I mean, that's an absolute bargain. Let's keep it real. But right now, you guys, I'm feeling a bit more optimistic compared to yesterday due to the voices coming out to make their positions known. I mean, today we heard voices from broadcasters. Of course, we were seeing the reports yesterday about how the Super League could be pushed to broadcasters like Amazon, Disney, Sky, etc., etc. Amazon today, they came out in a statement. It is interesting because how exactly are they going to get this Super League financed? Who exactly will be the broadcasters? Could clubs look to do it themselves? I don't know, but that is the future in which we are living in right now, you guys. But I guess, some food for thought though was hearing the words from Florentino Perez. Of course, him alongside Agnelli from Juventus are two of the biggest players to push through the Super League. And, him talking about things such as the fact that the Super League is the future, it's safeguarding the game. And to be honest, it was some interesting things he was saying. He made comments such as the fact that maybe games are too long at 90 minutes. Maybe there's too many games that aren't as important, and he seems to have fears that maybe the viewership retention rate and of course the amount of views per games is going down. And it really tells you everything you need to know about how these board officials just look at the game from a content perspective and a content point of view, and it's no surprise why they also look at the fans with that same lens. I mean, to hear statements such as the fact that there's two categories for fans: your legacy fans being fans who've supported the club for years and years who go to the game, and the other category being the new modern fan, the one that plays FIFA, the one that is on the internet, etc., etc. And trying to appease more towards that group of fan, because I guess that's where the money really is. Let's keep things real. I mean, over the past few years, many years, football has got too expensive. We've seen attendances in stadiums get older and older and older. The average age being around like 40 plus years, which is crazy. And right now it's very hard for young fans to even afford to go. And even if they can afford it, even get the tickets due to crazy point scheme systems that favour the fans who have been watching for a lot longer. So the cynical part of me has always felt like this has purposely been a condition. We know that with matchday revenue, especially for clubs that we support, the super clubs, that's barely any of their money. That they barely make anything from that. But if your perspective is to see things through like a content type of lens, then for me it's kind of like creating a paywall. Of course older fans can afford it more to go to the games compared to the younger ones, and I guess by not having the younger ones in the actual stadium, not having or creating more legacy fans in that sense makes it easier to sell more products to them. They're more willing than to buy the TV packages, which I guess is key because it's those TV packages that has brought untold riches to clubs like ours. I know it's cynical, but I know how these guys at the top like to think. They don't just think about this season. They've got business forecasts, and they've got their business plans for the next 5-10 years, you guys, and that's just the reality about their foresight. But yeah, I can't help but thinking that's always been the thing, and you can kind of see that disconnect in the younger fans. I feel like a lot of us fans over like the age of like our mid-20s, we are like in that crossroads between still being quite young, but also seeing the glory days back when Drogba and co were in their prime, where obviously the younger ones just weren't around or not old enough to really see and appreciate that. And sometimes, you look at the social media responses after games, and I think maybe some of us might agree that it seems like there's a much stronger consumer lens that maybe more average fans see the game in right now, which can be quite detrimental. So of course, with a Super League products and package like this, giving the average fan the opportunity to watch all the very best players play in one league to really determine who's the very best. I can see that being appealing to someone that, again, was sold football, that was obviously brought into the game and doesn't really understand the history or have that emotional connection. But yeah, to further continue on with some of the things that Florentino Perez was mentioning, what I found interesting though was him potentially talking about reducing the length of games because maybe younger fans don't find it entertaining, and I think that is something correct. I do think that maybe younger fans, I've noticed personally just from, you know, social media, which I think gives you like a fair idea behind what the mindsets are. For example, I don't think at times they enjoy it as much. You know, constantly read criticisms, for example, when there's international breaks or boring games being on TV, etc., etc. But, you know, I don't agree with Perez when he's discussing maybe what creates those boring factors. It's not because it's, let's say, I don't know, Real Madrid versus Levante that makes that boring. I think it's how the game is actually played. I think when he introduced all these business guys into running clubs, they brought with them their bullshit from the industries they left behind. And, you know, with sport, it's not as tangible as it is with like traditional business. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't, just because you get success one season doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get that same success plus more for the following season. It's that work of competition that stops that from happening. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is that there's constant pressure on managers to have to achieve success at all costs every single time. You're going to create conditions where the game won't be as exciting. You know, managers may favor more pragmatic tactics because that's the safest way to win and achieve targets. Managers may decide against using more younger players to introduce them because the pressure's too high. And we've seen how that's negatively impacted, in this country in particular, tournaments like the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. I mean, even with the FA Cup, for me, it's one of the most historic competitions in the world. That can't ever be disrespected for the history that's gone into that tournament, but we're seeing that being the case right now because, of course, you know, Champions League qualification is more important. Where you finish in the league is more important due to TV rights packages from European football and domestically too. So, you know, it's this facetiousness behind the arguments, and they're trying to hide behind the fact that this is just pure greed so they can just capitalize on their own self-interest year in, year out. And I don't know, I just feel like once this whole scenario is over, we need to see more strength from our governing bodies, from our FAs, you know, our Premier Leagues, etc., etc. We've allowed TV companies to have too much power. We've allowed these owners to have too much power. We've allowed any rich person with influence to come through and buy their ways themselves into the game and, you know, run the clubs how they want it. Nah, it just can't happen anymore, you guys. And yeah, I'm gonna end things right now, wrap things up. Got a lot of other things I need to run, but yeah, I don't know. You know, this season's been so weird for me because I really just saw the cynicism behind the game even more. That's become abundantly clear, even clearer with recent events right now. And just don't destroy that competition, the essence of the game. Like, are we going to allow money to just ruin anything and everything all the time just so a handful of people can make the big bucks and profit? I mean, I'm sorry, it's just mad how the world's set up, to be honest. But yeah, let's see how we all come together to fight against this. So yeah, you guys, as I said, you'll find links to signing up to the Chelsea Supporters Club in the comments and in the description. Make sure you do that, play your part. And on that note, I'm in the EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos tonight. Cool.